The day before the modeling competition, I was locked inside my home when a sudden fire broke out. When I was rescued, my entire face was burned raw, and I had severe burns over a large portion of my body. Mom was crying heartbrokenly outside the operating room, constantly blaming herself for accidentally locking the door. My fiancé mobilized all the dermatologists in the entire city, vowing to restore my appearance. But at the operating room door, I heard Mom's hesitant voice. "Robert, even if it's to help Chelsea win the modeling competition, isn't it too much for us to deliberately set the fire and lock the door, burning Ellie beyond recognition?" Robert Harrison snorted. "If Ellie wasn't so vain and selfish, I wouldn't have to resort to this. She knew Chelsea had depression and still flaunted her good figure in front of her all day. All Ellie lost was a face and some skin. What Chelsea lost was her happiness. This is what Ellie owes Chelsea. Don't worry, I will marry Ellie. With the status of Mrs. Harrison, even if she becomes unrecognizable, no one will gossip. I'm being so good to her, she should be grateful. Destroying my health and career is being good to me?" I clenched my jaw tightly, cold and pain raging in my heart. The man I deeply loved, the mom who adored me. I didn't want either of them anymore. "Don't proceed with the surgery yet. Have all the specialists wait outside." The doctor, who had just put on his gloves, looked surprised. "Mr. Harrison, Mrs. burns are too severe. Her trachea is also damaged by smoke. If we don't operate immediately, she won't just become mute, her face and skin will be completely ruined." Mom heard this and felt a pang of pity. "Robert, Ellie is so badly injured. She can't possibly participate in the modeling competition tomorrow. Why not let her have the surgery?" "Let them be ruined," he said. "If she has the surgery now, given her vain and selfish nature, she'll try to sabotage Chelsea even if she can't win the champion herself. Only when she's half dead will she give up the idea of bullying Chelsea. I'm doing this to curb her temper, it's all for her own good." He picked up a damp cotton swab and gently dabbed my cracked lips. But the words he spoke cut like a knife. "I promised Chelsea that this modeling competition champion title belongs to her and no one else. I won't let anyone stand in her way." Mom sighed softly and immediately instructed the doctor, "Give my daughter something for the pain first. Just do a simple disinfection for the burns on her body and face. Be careful with your movements, don't let her feel too much pain." No one noticed me trembling all over, as if a sudden blade had pierced my heart, the pain so severe I could barely breathe. It turned out the fire wasn't an accident at all. It was orchestrated by the man I had loved for so many years, solely to remove me as an obstacle for Chelsea. Even Mom, who had always doted on me, was an accomplice. They stood at the door, ignoring my desperate cries for help from behind the closed door, their minds filled with the relief that I was finally destroyed. Pain stabbed at my heart, and my throat, feeling like it was being cut, violently coughed up a mouthful of blood. Seeing this, Mom frantically reached out, only to realize there was nowhere on my body she could touch. Her eyes were red with pain tears. "Ellie, Mom is here. Does it hurt a lot? Don't be scared, Mom will always be with you." Robert Harrison cursed in a frenzy. "Why aren't the dermatologists here yet? If anything happens to my wife, this hospital can forget about staying open." The doctor, who was already in on it, submissively explained, "Mr. Harrison, we're rushing them. There was a traffic accident on the road, and the car is stuck. The earliest they can arrive is tomorrow." Robert Harrison kicked him out. "Get out." Turning back, he knelt before me, his face full of apology. "My wife, I'm sorry. It's my fault for coming too late and letting you suffer so much. Don't worry, no matter the cost, I will make sure your skin and face are healed so you can stand on the runway again." I looked numbly at his flawless performance and asked bitterly, "Can I really recover?" "Yes, you can. Absolutely." His sworn hypocrisy made me feel like a fool. To remove me as an obstacle for Chelsea, this man, who had been with me from school uniforms to wedding dresses, who had sworn to love me forever, used one lie after another to personally drive me to despair. And Mom, who had cherished me like a treasure from childhood, ultimately chose to raise a butcher's knife against me for Chelsea, her treacherous adopted daughter. In that moment, I desperately wanted to ask them why they were so cruel to me. But all the words turned into dead silence in my heart, which was chilling bit by bit. A few doctors came over with disinfectants. Looking at my gruesome burns, they showed pity and regret. "Miss, yeah, the dermatology specialists haven't arrived yet. We can only do a simple disinfection for now. Please bear with it." But the intense pain from the burns surged through my body. The moment the disinfectant touched my skin, I felt like I was thrown back into the flames. Fragile blood vessels burst, and the entire bed was covered in blood mixed with pus from my wounds. Mom watched this scene, covering her mouth tightly, her body shaking with sobs. Robert Harrison's eyes were red-rimmed. His clenched fists were white-knuckled, as if he wished he could bear the pain for me. Their concern seemed so genuine. Only I knew that everything was fake, only the lies and the hurt were real. When I woke up again, it was 2 days later. From outside the hospital room, I heard Robert Harrison and Mom talking. Robert, Ellie's condition is already so severe. We've delayed her treatment for 2 days. Do we really have to give her the hospital's newly developed psychiatric medication? The doctor said this medication hasn't been fully tested yet, and the side effects could include epilepsy and incontinence. After a few seconds of silence, Robert Harrison's tone was decisive. That's exactly the side effect we need. Today is Chelsea's celebration party, and many important mentors will be there. Anyway, Ellie is already barely human, a little more humiliation won't make a difference. Only when she has completely lost her dignity will she stop competing with Chelsea. After tomorrow, I will announce my marriage to her. It can be considered compensation. After saying that, he instructed carefully, Mom, have the specialist doctors wait outside the mansion. As soon as the celebration party is over, they can treat Ellie. Mom agreed repeatedly. I stared blankly at the ceiling, silent tears streaming down. They stung the festering wounds on my face, causing excruciating pain. But it was less than 1,000th of the pain in my heart. The two people closest to me knew perfectly well that I had been frail and sickly since childhood and had poured countless efforts and hardships into becoming a model. Yet with a few casual words, they destroyed the dream of my lifetime. If I had known I would end up like this, I would rather have been burned to death in the fire. The hospital room door was pushed open. Seeing I was awake, Robert Harrison's eyes filled with tenderness as he handed me 2 pills. My wife, I just asked the doctor. This medication is a new painkiller developed by the hospital. It has no side effects and can help you suffer less. I lowered my gaze, looking at the 2 bright red pills. My throat felt like it was full of rust. I spoke hoarsely, Rob, the medicine is too bitter. I don't want to take it. Robert Harrison hesitated for only 2 seconds, then smiled and squeezed my hand. It hurts me to see you in pain every day. Can you bear to see your Robert suffer? Be a good wife, just pity your Robert. Saying this, he didn't give me a chance to refuse and forced the pills to my mouth. Good GI. RL, Robert will feed you. He half pushed, half shoved the pills into my mouth. A sticky bitterness spread. I felt a wave of dizziness wash over me. Taking the opportunity, Robert Harrison held my hand. My wife, today is Chelsea's celebration party. Her biggest wish is to get your approval. If you don't attend, people outside will spread rumors that you are narrow-minded and can't tolerate your adopted sister. I'll go. Prepare my clothes. I knew Robert Harrison had everything planned and wouldn't give me a chance to refuse. Since that was the case, there was no need for me to say anything more. Just then, Mom, who had opened the door and come in, heard this and instantly beamed. Good Ellie, Mom said. Mom knew you were the most sensible. After Chelsea's celebration party is over, Mom will personally preside over your wedding day with Robert. I numbly pulled my hand away. At that moment, my heart felt like dead ash. The car quickly arrived at the mansion. As soon as I was helped out of the car, countless flashbulbs suddenly swarmed towards me. In panic, I reached for Mom's hand, but my hand met empty air. In my peripheral vision, she was walking away quickly, holding Chelsea, without even giving me a glance. My face was pale. I buried my head, holding my hat down tightly. Miss Sia, is it true that you were afraid your sister would win the modeling competition champion title, so you deliberately set a fire to burn her to death, but ended up burning yourself? Miss Sia, how dare someone as malicious as you show up at your sister's celebration party? Don't you feel ashamed? Miss Sia, you're so good at starting on the runway. Why would you be afraid of losing to your sister? Is it because your sugar daddies aren't satisfied? As he said this, the reporter asking the question suddenly knocked off my hat. Immediately, there was a collective gasp. A face burned beyond recognition was exposed to the cameras. Oh my God, that's disgusting. Is that a monster? I am gonna puke. She's so damn ugly, like seeing a ghost in broad daylight. My heart pounded, and my vision blurred. But they had no intention of letting me go. Several cell phones were raised, starting a live broadcast. Famous model Eleanor, with her corrupted morals and vicious nature, deliberately set fire to try and burn her sister to death, but ended up suffering the consequences herself. We heard there isn't a single piece of good skin on her body, so let's witness the retribution for her evil deeds with our own eyes. Someone started shoving me, and I was knocked to the ground. My loose clothes ripped with a single tear. My arms were exposed, my thighs exposed, my torso exposed. My hoarse voice let out a ragged cry. Suddenly, my hands and feet began to tremble uncontrollably. My entire body convulsed as if being electrocuted. The reporters tearing at me seemed to have discovered something new and shouted excitedly, "She's having an epileptic seizure. This is incredible. Quick, get a close-up. This is all great footage." I rolled my eyes in agony, foam continuously spilling from my lips. I knew the medication was taking effect, but I couldn't do anything. I was like a clown-stripped bear, letting them tear my dignity to shreds. Someone shrieked. A warm flow spilled from beneath me, and a pungent, shameful odor immediately filled the air. The immense humiliation made me unable to even cry. I wished I could die on the spot. While they continuously spewed insults and disgust, flashbulbs fiercely flashed, aimed at my lower body. I was like a dead dog, without an ounce of strength left to struggle. "What are you doing? Who gave you permission to take pictures?" Robert Harrison burst out from the crowd in a rage, snatched the leading reporter's camera, and smashed it fiercely. "Get out, all of you." Mom frantically wrapped me in a jacket, tears of distress streaming down her face. "Where are the security guards? Are you all dead? How did reporters get into the seal? Bradion party? You're all fired." Chelsea stood aside, feigning shock and covering her mouth. "You've gone too far. How could you do this to my sister? You are not allowed to publish the photos you took today of my sister having an epileptic seizure and being incontinent. So disgusting. Truly disgusting. You wanted the champion title, you wanted to give all your love to Chelsea. I could have let you have it all. Why did you have to do this to me?" My consciousness was fading. I let Robert Harrison kneel before me, tightly holding my hand. "My wife, I'm sorry. It's all my fault for not protecting you better. Don't worry, from now on, I will never let you suffer even the slightest wrong. Let's get married right away, okay?" I wanted to say no, but the sweet, metallic taste surging in my throat came out first in a gush. Robert Harrison was splashed with my blood. His pupils constricted, and his face instantly turned pale. Before my consciousness faded into darkness, I heard him and Mom frantically shouting for a doctor. She was already severely injured, and too much time was delayed. On top of that, she took an overdose of psychiatric medication, causing very serious damage to her internal organs. The surgery only has a 30% success rate. Robert Harrison's voice trembled. "How can this be? I don't care. If you can't save my wife, you'll all pay with your lives." Tears fell on the back of my hand. He was sobbing uncontrollably. "My wife, we promised to be together forever. You can't leave me alone." Mom begged the doctor on her knees, "Please, you must save my daughter. No matter the cost, even if you have to take my life instead." I closed my eyes heavily. It would be better if I just died like this. When I woke up again, I was back in my own room. From the doorway, I heard faint voices talking. "Mom, you're going to transfer all the inheritance Dad left me? Will my sister be unhappy if she finds out?" Mom smiled indulgently. "She can't afford to be PPY. When she marries Robert, she'll have everything she needs. Will she really miss this small amount of money? Back when your dad just passed away and our family was struggling the most, I got acute leukemia. You gave me blood transfusions every day and even gave me your bone marrow. Mom swore then that you would be my only real daughter for the rest of my life. Mom still feels like this small amount of money isn't enough for you. Mom knows you like Robert too. I've already talked to Robert, your sister is in no condition to have children. So, on the wedding day, you will replace her on the wedding night and give birth to Robert's first child." Chelsea responded shyly, "I'll do whatever Mom says." Mom pushed open the door, directly meeting my open eyes. A flicker of guilt quickly crossed her face. She stammered, "Ellie, since you heard everything, Mom won't hide it from you anymore. The Harrison family is vast and wealthy, they can't be without an heir. But don't worry, the position of Mrs. Harrison, I agree." I calmly interrupted. "In my condition, it's not convenient for me to attend the wedding day. Let Chelsea replace me." Mom's face instantly broke into a smile. "Good Ellie, you've really grown up and become much more sensible." Chelsea glanced at my unsightly skin with disdain and said pretentiously, "Sister, don't worry, I'll take good care of Robert for you." I turned my head away wearily, not wanting to see them again. I just hoped Mom wouldn't regret it the day she learned the truth. What her so-called only precious daughter had actually done when Mom had leukemia. The wedding day was held at the mansion. It was Chelsea's suggestion. I knew she wanted me to watch everything I cared about being taken away from me, piece by piece. But I didn't expect her to be far more malicious than I imagined. She pushed open my door, wearing a luxurious and exquisite wedding dress, and revealed a sinister smile. Even that massive fire couldn't kill you, Eleanor. You truly have a tenacious life, you wretch. I didn't want to waste words on her. You've gotten everything you wanted. What else do you want? She sneered. Of course, I want you dead. Only when you're dead can I become the legitimate Mrs. Harrison. Saying that, she pulled out a lighter and set the curtains on fire. Watching the flames leap up, the color drained from my face. Dragging my damaged body, I was about to stop her, but she kicked me hard against the bedpost. She rushed to the door first and started crying loudly. Robert Harrison rushed in almost immediately. He anxiously embraced Chelsea. What happened, Chelsea? Where are you hurt? Mom followed close behind. Even though she saw no injury on Chelsea, she urgently shouted, "Quick, take Chelsea to the hospital." Everyone crowded around Chelsea. Not a single person noticed that I was bleeding profusely from my head after Chelsea hit me. Chelsea huddled in Robert Harrison's arms, crying with red-rimmed eyes as if terrified. Robert, I was just afraid my sister was upset and went to comfort her, but she said that since her face was ruined, why should I get to wear a beautiful wedding dress? She set a fire and said she wanted to burn me beyond recognition too. I'm so scared. Robert Harrison's gaze at me was practically spitting fire. Are you insane? Chelsea was kindly helping you through the wedding day preparations, and not only are you ungrateful, but you're repaying her kindness with malice? Look at you now, you monstrous sight. You make me sick to my stomach. Mom's eyes were full of disappointment. Knowing how you lie constantly, it would have been better if that fire had burned you to death. Someone as vicious as you isn't even fit to touch one of Chelsea's fingers. You don't deserve to be my daughter. Being burned like this is what you deserve. They picked up Chelsea and left without looking back. As they reached the door, Robert Harrison looked back at the flames creeping up the curtains and sneered. You love playing with fire so much? Fine, play to your heart's content. Lock the door tightly. No one is allowed to open it. My voice, desperately trying to explain and beg for mercy, was cut off by the door slamming shut. Mom heard the hysterical pounding from inside and a trace of unease showed in her eyes. Robert, just locking Ellie in like this, won't something happen? What could happen? She set the fire herself. Could she really burn herself to death? She must have hidden a fire extinguisher long ago. Robert Harrison rushed Chelsea straight to the hospital. Only after she was examined and confirmed completely unharmed did he remember me. Sighing, he opened his cell phone. A real-time news alert about the fire at Eastwood Manor popped up on the screen. He frowned. Just as he was about to call the butler's call came through first. Have someone let my wife out. I'm coming back now to pick her up for our honeymoon trip. I've already chosen the location, it's a European country she likes. The butler's voice trembled. Young master, the mansion is on fire. Your wife, she couldn't be saved. The hallway was dead silent, as if even the air had frozen. Robert Harrison gripped his cell phone tightly, his voice full of fury. Are you tired of living? How dare you curse my wife? Chelsea, standing nearby, heard the voice on the phone, and a fleeting look of delight flashed in her eyes. Then she spoke up, feigning comfort. Robert, don't worry. Sister must be angry that you locked her up, so she deliberately staged this with the butler to trick you. You know how much sister lies. She loves using these despicable methods to get your attention. If you ask me, you should send her to some remote country to teach her a lesson. Once she suffers a bit, she'll realize how good you were to her. You shouldn't indulge someone as vile as her. Listening to Chelsea's incessant chatter. For the first time, Robert Harrison completely lost his patience. Shut up. Since when is my wife and I's business any of your concern? He shook off Chelsea's hand on his arm, walked aside, and lowered his voice. Tell her I won't pursue what happened today. Go and let her out now. When I get back, I'll bring her favorite pecan rolls from the sweet spot. The pecan rolls from the sweet spot had been our unspoken signal for making up for over 10 years. Every time I was in a bad mood, just one pecan roll from him could easily cheer me up. But it had been 2 years since I last ate a pecan roll. It wasn't that he hadn't bought them, it was that every one he bought was given to appease Chelsea. He always said that Chelsea was our adopted daughter, and because she was fragile and sensitive, she had depression, that I owed her and should yield to her more. But I didn't know what exactly I owed her. She lost her family because they were criminals who died in an accident while trying to escape, while my dad sacrificed his life because of her, the criminal's daughter. I had given up Mom, I had given up my husband, I had given up the dream I'd worked for my entire life. Now I had even given up my life. And he finally remembered to bring a pecan roll to appease me. How ridiculous. The butler on the other end of the phone explained in a panic, "Young master, I'm really not lying to you. The fire started in your wife's room." By the time we realized something was wrong and tried to open the door, it was too late. The fire at the mansion is out of control now. The firefighters are in the middle of emergency rescue. Enough. Robert Harrison pressed his throbbing temples, his tone still cold and hard. "I know she's mad that I locked her up. I've already agreed to let her out. How long is she going to keep this up? She set the fire herself, how could she be stupid enough to burn herself to death? But what if I didn't set the fire?" As this thought flashed through his mind, Robert Harrison's breathing suddenly became ragged, and his face paled slightly. "All right, I'm coming back right away." Just as he was about to hang up in a hurry, Mom snatched the phone away. She wasn't as calm as Robert Harrison. The moment she spoke, her voice revealed panic. "You're lying to us, aren't you? She must be angry about the hurtful things I said to her. Tell Ellie that Mom didn't mean what she said in the room earlier. Mom knows she was wrong. Mom is going back now to apologize to her." The butler was silent for a moment. Knowing these two were determined not to accept the truth, he could only sigh helplessly. "All right, I will pass on the message." Mom looked as if she had taken a calming pill, forcing a dry smile onto her face. "I said it must be a joke. What fire? With so many people at the mansion, how could it get out of control? Ellie, that child, she's such a worry." No matter how many words she said to comfort herself, she didn't even realize the tremor hidden beneath her voice. "Robert, let's hurry back. Today is your wedding day. Appease Ellie properly. She's my only precious daughter, I can't let her suffer any more wrong." Robert Harrison nodded restlessly. "Okay, I will." Chelsea was following behind them, intending to go with them, but Robert Harrison stopped her. "Go back to your own home. Ellie doesn't like you anyway. I don't want her to be unhappy on her wedding day." Mom also chimed in, "That's right, Chelsea, go home first. You've already taken Ellie's modeling competition champion title. Show yourself less in front of her from now on." Chelsea wanted to say something else, but they didn't even spare her a glance and turned to leave. She gnashed her teeth in anger, the pretense of being gentle and lovely gone from her face. She cursed viciously, "Eleanor, you haunting wretch. Even in death, you're still trying to steal from me." On the way back, real-time updates about the fire at Eastwood Manor were constantly pushed to his cell phone. They almost filled the entire screen. Robert Harrison was in a daze, veins bulging on his hand gripping the steering wheel. He ran countless red lights on the way back and finally reached the mansion. But as soon as he got out of the car, the scene before him made his legs instantly go weak. The entire mansion had been engulfed by the fire. The towering flames lit up the daytime sky like a fiery cloud. Countless firefighters in orange uniforms and medical personnel in white coats were moving in and out. The servants were slumped on the ground, all covered in dirt, trembling uncontrollably. The butler, covered in soot, ran out from the crowd. "Young master, you're finally back." Robert Harrison, losing all reason, grabbed the butler by the collar. "Ellie? Where is she?" The butler panicked and quickly pointed to the charred mansion behind them. "We followed your orders and didn't open the door for your wife. We waited until we couldn't hear the pounding from inside anymore, thinking she had tired herself out. But soon after, thick smoke started coming out from under the door. That's when I realized something was wrong. When I opened the door, the fire rushed out. The entire room was ablaze. It was too late to put it out, and," the butler stammered, not daring to continue. Robert Harrison's heart pounded violently. A terrible premonition instantly enveloped him. "And what?" The words had barely left his lips when a violent explosion suddenly erupted. Boom, the windows shattered. Black smoke billowed into a crimson mushroom cloud, shooting out directly from the room I was in. Countless glass fragments and charred debris scattered. Robert Harrison watched this scene unfold, his blood running cold. "No, it can't be. Ellie wouldn't leave me. She can't be dead." His eyes were splitting with grief as he tried to rush into the mansion, but the butler held him back tightly. "Young master, calm down. If you go in now, you'll surely die. The firefighters have checked and confirmed that somehow over a dozen gasoline cans were secretly placed in your wife's room. There could be another explosion at any moment." Robert Harrison's eyes were bloodshot, and he was completely unsteady on his feet. Gasoline cans. Why would there be gasoline cans in Ellie's room? He seemed to finally remember that when he had entered my room earlier, he had faintly smelled something strange, but he had deliberately ignored it because his mind was entirely focused on Chelsea. A belated wave of intense pain and remorse swept over him. He sank to his knees, his strength gone, experiencing despair so profoundly for the first time in his life. Mom, who arrived soon after, froze completely when she saw the charred remains of the mansion before her. Frantically, she grabbed a firefighter. "Where is my daughter? She's the lady of this mansion. Was she rescued? She's not well, this big fire must have terrified her. I need to take care of her. Quick, tell me, where is she?" The firefighter couldn't bear it and finally sighed heavily. "Madam, I'm sorry. The fire started in Monsieur's room, and many gasoline cans were found inside. There have already been multiple explosions. We're afraid she might not have survived." "You're lying." Mom's eyes were completely red. The moment she spoke, tears streamed down her face uncontrollably. "My daughter is alive and well. Today is her wedding day. We all agreed I would personally preside over the wedding. She's so obedient and sensible, how could she bear to make me sad?" She was panting roughly. Seeing the firefighter hanging his head without speaking, she turned and found Robert Harrison, wildly pounding on him with her fists. "It's all your fault. Why did you lock Ellie in the room? She was already burned like that. The thing she fears most is fire. How could she possibly set one? Give me back Ellie. Give me back my daughter." Robert Harrison was like a walking dead man, numbly letting her hit him. Many people ran over to stop her. Mom sobbed uncontrollably, and finally, overcome with emotion, she fainted. Robert Harrison slowly raised his head, his gaze falling on the raging fire not far away. It was as if, in this moment, he finally understood. "Ever since I was rescued from the fire, I would react with panic just seeing the tiny flame of a lighter. How could I possibly set a fire? And how could I, someone so afraid of fire, have placed so many gasoline cans in my room?" Just then, a firefighter holding a dirty voice recorder handed it to him. "Mr. Harrison, we found this in your wife's room, right by the bedside. We suspect she might have left a message for you in her final moments. See if you can play it." Robert Harrison took it in a panic, thanking him repeatedly. The moment he pressed play on the voice recorder, all the strength drained from his body. Their conversation outside the operating room, his and Mom's, and their discussion outside the hospital room about giving me psychiatric medication and having reporters tear my dignity to shreds at Chelsea's celebration party. The final section was the truth. Before I died, Chelsea was in my room, setting the fire and provoking me, and then slandering me. He gripped the voice recorder tightly, his heart twisted as if by a knife. It turned out Ellie had known everything all along. While she was enduring the agony of being burned raw by the flames, he was still cutting deadly wounds into her heart, one after another. The sadness and helplessness beneath her calm exterior weren't because she had learned to be magnanimous, it was because her heart had died completely. That was the girl he had loved for over 10 years, the one he had promised to never leave his entire life. Pushed into the fire twice by him, how much pain and despair she must have felt. What exactly had he done? In an instant, Robert Harrison seemed to have his spine shattered. He bent over in agony, curling into a ball. As darkness fell, the massive fire was finally extinguished. The air was filled with the smell of charring. Firefighters searched the entire mansion, finally handing him a diamond ring with regret. His assistant arrived in a hurry, holding a thick stack of investigation files. He spoke hesitantly, "Mr. Harrison, you'd better prepare yourself." Before Robert Harrison could take them, Mom, who had arrived at some point, snatched the files first. The entire truth of how Chelsea had tormented me over the years, and the secrets Chelsea had hidden for so long, were finally laid bare before their eyes. Chelsea's biological parents were human traffickers who were hit by a car and killed while trying to escape arrest. Chelsea recognized the arresting officer as my dad. She staged a scene of being bullied and abused, claiming she was almost dragged into an illegal establishment. Dad, unable to bear it, eventually adopted her. But she was a venomous snake who had been dormant for a long time. During Dad's undercover mission, she deliberately shouted on the street that Dad was a police officer. Dad was shot and killed by criminals, but she just innocently cried with red eyes and turned it around, claiming I was vain and wanted to show off having a police officer dad, so I deliberately egged her on to do it. Mom didn't say it out loud, but she always harbored resentment towards me in her heart. During the time she had leukemia, I secretly gave her blood transfusions and bone marrow donations, but Chelsea stole the survivor benefits that Dad had died for. Later, when she learned Mom had recovered and I was about to marry Robert Harrison, the CEO of the Harrison Group, she came back home, claiming she had depression and was afraid of burdening us. Whenever people weren't watching, I was pushed down the stairs. My wrist was suddenly slashed open by sharp scissors in the middle of the night. vases falling from the ceiling. For so many years, everyone believed her words implicitly and branded me as vain and selfish. They naturally sided with Chelsea. Whenever I showed even a little emotion, I would be accused of being malicious and narrow-minded, ultimately subjected to endless emotional abuse. What's more, Chelsea's depression was faked. Behind closed doors, she was a bully, promiscuous, and had trafficked over a dozen children and young women. The words I had tried to explain repeatedly, only to be met with cold indifference, finally hit them like bullets to the forehead today, years later. Mom cried until she almost fainted, collapsing to her knees on the ground. My daughter. Mom was wrong. Mom is so sorry to you. Robert Harrison unsteadily got to his feet, carefully wiped the diamond ring dry with his sleeve, and put it in his pocket. Then he calmly instructed his assistant to take Mom home, while he made a call to Chelsea. The next day, news of Chelsea being burned to death in the suburbs topped the trending topics. When the police station arrived, there was only a charred and deformed corpse. According to the forensic investigation results, before Chelsea died, someone doused her body in gasoline. When she was burned to within an inch of her life, the fire was put out with a fire extinguisher. After a while, she was doused with gasoline again and continued to burn. This was repeated over a dozen times before she was completely charred. Rather than being burned to death, it was more accurate to say she was tortured to death by pain. While a few nurses were discussing this news with relish, I was lying on the operating table, undergoing my 6th skin graft surgery. My mentor stood nearby, his eyes filled with compassion and worry. Are you scared? I shook my head. Having escaped death from the fire twice, there was nothing left that could frighten me. The massive fire on the wedding day. If my mentor hadn't seen the news, worried about my condition, and flown back from abroad overnight, I would be a charred corpse now. My mentor looked relieved. Ellie, you are my proudest student. I look forward to you shining brilliantly at the International Supermodel Competition in 6 months. With the doctor's dedicated treatment, I successfully stood on the supermodel runway 6 months later. I didn't disappoint my mentor. The moment I stood on the podium, holding the champion trophy, the starlight of the entire world seemed to shine for me. Facing countless flowers and applause, I wept tears of joy. Just when I thought Robert Harrison and I would be strangers for the rest of our lives, he appeared again unexpectedly. Coming off the runway, I said goodbye to the last competitor who congratulated me on winning the champion title. Turning around, I saw Robert Harrison standing in the night, shrouded in the cold wind. He was unshaven and looked gaunt. When he looked at me awkwardly, he forced a fawning smile. Ellie, I've come to take you home. He took out the diamond ring from his pocket, the one I had deliberately left in the fire. Look, I still have the ring. Let's go back and have the wedding day again. I'll arrange a grander, more lavish wedding for you, held by the sea, just like you always wanted. His eyes were full of affection, and he seemed to be moving himself with his own words. But I laughed sardonically. If you had any conscience or shame left, you wouldn't be able to say you want to marry me again. Do you know how many skin graft surgeries I've had on this face, on this skin? 18 times. Every time the scalpel scraped my skin, I told myself that all of this was because of you. Robert Harrison looked utterly broken, tears of regret hitting the ground. Ellie, I know I deserve to die 1,000 deaths. I don't ask for your forgiveness. I just ask for one chance to make amends, okay? Get out of my life. Never let me see you again. That would be the best way to make amends. After a long silence, Robert Harrison's shoulders finally slumped. He gave a self-mocking, bitter smile. You're right. As I am now, I don't deserve to stand by your side. Don't worry, I won't bother you anymore. Half a month after Robert Harrison left, I received news from home. Mom had committed suicide by taking pills at home. When she was found, she was holding a photo of me as a child. I transferred a large sum of money to the best funeral home in the country and asked them to take good care of Mom's arrangements. Meanwhile, Robert Harrison voluntarily went to the police station and surrendered to the police, confessing to setting the fire that burned me and later burning Chelsea to death. He was sentenced to life imprisonment without parole. 2 years later, I received a suicide note and a massive inheritance sent by his lawyer. I didn't even look at them. I tore the suicide note into pieces and threw it in the trash. Then I turned around and donated the inheritance to the International Charity for the Disabled. In the years that followed, my life blossomed like the morning sun, shining brightly like the stars and moon.